Last week, when I was coaching my clients, I noticed that three of them used a very particular piece of language, and I called each one of them out on this language. We explored it, we dug into it, and I actually challenged them to change what they were saying and notice how changing what they were saying would change their life. Then one of my best friends used the language too, and I challenged her on it as well. The piece of language that I'm talking about is when we say, "Oh my God, the weather's so bad, it makes me feel so unhappy." Or, "Oh my God, he rejected me, it made me feel so depressed or so upset." Or, "She used this tone of voice with me, I don't like it, made me feel so outraged." Or, "He was so sweet, he made me feel so loved." Today I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to talk about this piece of language, and I am going to help you step into a more empowered, free, miraculous life. My name is Eloa Atkinson. I'm a life-changing coach. I am the founder of the Fearless Expression 5-Day Challenge and the Academy of Miracles podcast. And I'd love for you to check both of them out because they are seriously awesome. So this piece of language, let's talk about it. So my husband cooks me a meal and it makes me feel happy. No, it doesn't. I know it really seems that way because it seems like cause and effect. Something happens and I feel a certain way. But I want to tell you that this is such a subtle ego device. The ego has as its goal a whole set of things, and it's really a great thing for you to explore within yourself. But one of the fundamental principles of that ego-based thought system is that it wants you to perceive yourself as a victim of the world you see. The ego loves and thrives on this idea that things happen and, oh, poor little me, I end up feeling a certain way because of it. I think it's very dangerous to perceive our life in this way. I'm currently reading a book by Steve Chandler, and he talked about how actually the first 5 decades of his life was spent in this mindset. 5 decades. And in those 5 decades, he just drifted through life like he didn't accomplish anything of any real significance or value to himself or others. So I'm going to invite you to pay attention in your life to any time you use that sentence. It makes me feel, you made me feel, it will make me feel. We do it in so many subtle ways. Notice it in your thinking, but particularly in the language that comes out of your mouth. And I'm going to dare you to change that language. The first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is when you notice yourself doing it, just stop, catch yourself and go, hold on a minute, hold on. I want to remind you that you are not a victim of the world you see. That is a lesson from A Course in Miracles. You can actually say it over and over again to yourself. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I am not a victim of the world I see. And the word see actually means interpret. It's all about perception. It is about the meaning that you are assigning to the things that you perceive to be happening around you. Whether that's somebody in a state of road rage, somebody loving you up, somebody praising and acknowledging you, somebody criticizing and rejecting you. So there's a lovely piece from chapter 21 of this book. Such an amazing book. As a side note, A Course in Miracles is a spiritual text that is probably the most purchased spiritual text, but the least read. So I'm not saying it's sold the most copies, but the relationship, the ratio of purchasing to reading, it's probably right up there because it's not a book to read. You don't just read it and toss it aside. You really have to sit with it and study it. So on that note, chapter 21, in section 2, the responsibility for sight, there's this little bit and it says, say only this, but mean it with no reservations. I am responsible for what I see. for what I interpret, for what I perceive. It doesn't mean you're responsible for the things that are happening externally. It's your interpretation that you're responsible for. I choose the feelings I would experience. Oh. Flashback to being 11 years old. And I decide upon the goal I would achieve. Am I going to head towards victimhood or empowerment? And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for. Seems is the key word there. Everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. So it made me feel so happy. It made me feel so sad. It made me feel so angry. It made me feel so confused. Halt. It's like, stop, hammer time. And I want you to flip your language, consciously start flipping it, even if you sound like a mad person. Hold on, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. Hold on a minute. Okay, so when this happened, I felt this. When you I feel and the are the pieces of the formula, the so simple formula that you have to fill in. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips. The first one is that the when needs to be an observable behavior. So it can't be when you rejected me. The rejection is your interpretation of what happened. Also, this is going to really help you in your relationships. If you're using this in relationship with another person, get super clear and unambiguous with what you actually observed happen. So if it was with Nige, my husband, I might say, Nige, when I spoke to you about my latest blog post and you turned and walked away and put the kettle on, it's an observable behavior. It's something he can't say, oh, I didn't do that. It's like, that is what happened. When you did that, I felt, and you're going to go for a feeling, an emotional feeling. This requires vulnerability, or at least the willingness to be vulnerable. It's scary. You're going to be open. You're going to be transparent. You're going to be real. And you're actually inviting whoever you're talking to, or even just your own heart, to step closer to you. You're not pushing them away. You're actually inviting them in. Nige, when I told you about my blog post and you walked into the kitchen, you turned your back on me and put the kettle on, I felt not rejected. Rejected is a perception. It's an interpretation. I felt really sad. And then I felt angry. And then underneath it, I had some shame. I felt ashamed. I felt really ashamed. And then you can go into it. Like, what did I think it meant? I thought you weren't interested in me. I thought that I was boring. What I was saying was boring or unimportant to you. It's so simple and yet so profound. And yet, here's the thing. Part of you will not want to do this. You won't. The ego doesn't want it does not want you to step into emotional responsibility. I can even feel as I say those words, emotional responsibility, part of me recoils. It's like, ugh, that sounds really horrible and boring and rubbish. I don't want to be an emotional responsible adult. Ugh. So why would we resist this thing that actually invites people closer to us, helps us to actually access and process what we're really feeling, and empowers us to understand that we are the creators, we are the choosers, we are the ones who are actually creating all of this meaning out of our own lives? How come we wouldn't want that when it opens up a whole new world for us? Well, there's some kind of payoff for staying in victim mode. And so I am going to, firstly, this week, dare you to start flipping your language. And I'll put the script in the blog post below this video. Secondly, I'm going to double dare you. Can you resist a double dare? Ooh, double dare you to come and leave a comment and actually explore what is the payoff for you. And when I say payoff, I mean some kind of benefit. how come you would want to stay in victim mode? And before you say, I don't want to be a victim, I don't want to be a victim, if you use this piece of language, there is a part of you that does want to be a victim, otherwise you wouldn't use it. And I'm speaking from my own experience here. I have no intention of shaming you or making you wrong. This piece of language is so ingrained in the English language. We have a whole voice in the English language called the passive voice. I was made to feel embarrassed. So come and share. What's the payoff? What do you actually get to keep or to gain? What do you not have to step into when you use this piece of language, the original piece? It made me feel. So go forth, change your language, change your life, and remember you are responsible for what you see. You give everything you see all the meaning it has for you, and that is so empowering. I would love to see you in the comments. I am hoping and expecting to see you in the comments. Brave person, this is a fantastic step in your personal growth if you do this piece today. And I will see you very soon over on eloaatkinson.com. Ciao.